So we're at the part where we're being asked for some new LSPs from router 2 to router 1 and from router 2 to router 8. Now we already have an LSP from router 2 to router 1 called first, and we've got its admin group, and we've got green and blue selected, and we don't know it yet, but this will be the primary of router 2 to router 1 first, and there will be a secondary. On our new LSP, we're calling it router 2 to router 1 second, and this will also have a primary and a secondary, and we're configuring the primary first. So on the primary, we're attaching path 1, which pushes the data via router 3 and router 8. So the R2 to R1 first goes from R2 to R1. You can see it here. It's using admin groups. And R2 to R1 second, primary, is following router 3 to router 8. And we get this purple result here when we go from router 3 to router 8. And you can follow it on the diagrams. Now, let's take a look at router 2 to router 8. So, router 2 to router 8 first is admin groups. We get this red result here as we have to go via router 6. And router 2 to router 8 second, which is our new LSP, we're configuring the primary before the secondary and we're using path 1. Now, it's a complete coincidence or it's question design, but we're using the same path 1 as we did before. And now this could be any path, but we're using this one. So when we go from router 2 to router 8 and we follow the ARO of 3 and 8, we get the pink result. Now you'll notice it's very clever. The pink and the red don't have any shared risk, and neither does the green and the purple. So it's a very clever question that the path that solves the first two LSPs would solve the second as well. But that's just how it is. It's very, very clever. So we're going to end up with two paths, two LSPs from router 2 to router 1, each with two paths, two LSPs from router 2 to router 8, each with two paths. It's been a little bit complicated, but in the next screen we're going to use two of those paths to do some LSP mapping of the traffic from C3 to P1. Okay, so the requirement is that IPv4 traffic from C31 to P1 will follow a different LSP to IP version 6 traffic. Now, how are we going to do that? Well, if we want to actually move the data, the best way to do this is to move the route. So we're on router 2, we're going to identify routes from P1, and we're going to be editing the next hop to point the data that follows that route down an LSP. So set policy options policy statement, LSP mapping, turn 1 from family INET, protocol BGP, from AS path P1 neighbor, so we're on router 2 and we're not looking at the local path, we're looking at the remote path. So any route with that path, install next hop, LSP regex, and then the name of our path. Now it's LSP regex, not LSP, but obviously we're spelling the name and it's going to match. And then term 2 from family INET 6, from protocol BGP, again from AS path P1 neighbor, install next hop, LSP regex, and this puts the IP version 6 down the pink LSP, which is R2 to R8 second. So all of the IP version 6 will go to router 8, and all of the IP version 4 will go to router 1, because of course both router 1 and router 8 are connected to P1. And this leaves plenty of other LSPs for other traffic from other locations. So how are we going to attach this? Well, set routing options, forwarding table, export, LSP mapping. So if we look at what we're doing here, we're on router 2, and we're not looking at the local paths from C31. We're looking at the remote path. That's the route that's come in. We've selected it, and we've said, okay, the data is going to follow this route, and we want the data to go a certain direction. So if we edit this route and manipulate this route, the data will follow that manipulation, and that's what we're doing. From AS path P1 neighbor, install next hop, and then attach it to the forwarding table.